I went too hard, too fast. I did push-ups yesterday. I've got a long list of
Is that an excuse?
Longer than Hillary Clinton's what happened.
I was gonna say that's literally what I was just about to say. You're starting to sound like Hillary Clinton. How sore are you right now?
I'm already sore. To ask me tomorrow. I mean, Adam Fox, dude's in good shape.
You look exhausted just watching yourself.
I was trying to talk. I was trying to do the weather, so you want to do silent push-ups. I was like, we got to do the weather, man.
He just makes it look easy. And you know, our viewers also were emailing in. They enjoyed this, and they're giving us their thoughts. Here's Melissa. She says, I sure am worried about Pete's hands after being outside doing push-ups with bare hands on the wet pavement. He had real
It is 5
That
degrees
is
outside.
very kind. Well, Jerry says, well done, Pete. No jacket, but you're getting a little soft. Time to crank some gym time. Easy for me to say, hiding behind my phone on my couch in my 70-degree living room. Ooh, rubbing it a little bit.
You know
but that's
what?
pretty,
There's a new gym
so
here.
Time to hit the gym,
There's
Pete,
a new
I guess.
gym here at the Fox News Channel. I'm going to be in tomorrow for Brian on the couch. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go work out tomorrow after the show. And I'm going to eat a little bit less in the food segments.
I don't believe that
maybe
for a
that's
second.
one of my New Year's resolutions. Or maybe not. Yeah.
I think you should maybe work out with Klotz and get him to teach you,
I'm gonna
the
tips.
secret to making it look so darn easy.
In a month, I'm getting a rematch. In a month.
Okay, all right. Mark the date.
So you're going to be like Rocky, running up and down steps, playing Eye the Tiger. And
Mark the date. And it will be fascinating to see on that day whether or not we are still talking about a book that has garnered a lot of attention, Fire and Fury. And the president yesterday, after the meeting at Camp David, where he was discussing the important agenda forward on immigration, on the spending bill and everything else, the president firing back against this book. Here's a montage of what he had to say.
I went to the best college. I was a very excellent student, came out, made billions and billions of dollars, went to television, ran for president one time and won. And then I hear this guy that doesn't know me at all, by the way, did not interview me for he said he interviewed me for 3 hours in the White House. I consider it a work of fiction. And I think it's a disgrace that somebody's able to have something, do something like that. Just so you understand, there's been no collusion. There's been no crime. I'm not under investigation. When you've done nothing wrong, let's be open. It's making our country look foolish. And this is a country that I don't want looking foolish.
It's making our country look foolish. And, Griff, you'd acknowledge this as a journalist. It's making our media look foolish. The extent to which they're running with incredibly poorly sourced, as you said, gossip, and they're treating as if it's something they can take this president down with, from this book to CNN to the New York Times.
Right. I mean, if you give some context, back during President Bush's administration, we had Woodward's book come out, which was the lead up to the invasion of Iraq, the Iraq War, and there was certainly quotes of real substance that sort of gave us an inside look based on Woodward's access. In this case, we have a very different situation. We have a skilled, seasoned gossip journalist that was let, for whatever reason, in the White House that has a lot of salacious things of little substance, for which has become a narrative portrayed by, unfortunately, in some cases, other journalists, that this is a portrayal of a president who didn't want to win to begin with and is an undisciplined person that eats cheeseburgers in bed.
And that narrative is ridiculous because we have two conflicting narratives that the mainstream media and the left are trying to run. They're trying to say President Trump is this, incompetent person who didn't want to win the election, while simultaneously he's colluding with Vladimir Putin and Russia to win the election. So those are sort of contradictory messages that we're seeing being pushed. But I think it's also viewers at home that are frustrated with this as well, because they want to hear about the issues. They want to hear about tax reform. They want to hear about immigration. They want to hear how all these different policy pieces are going to impact their lives. And you know who else is frustrated? Dan Bongino. And he joined us earlier talking about this very issue. Listen.
Not expect these things to pass. Now that they've passed and Trump's approval ratings are moving up and he has political capital, impeachment now is almost off the table entirely. They need a backup plan. Their backup plan is the 25th Amendment, which would remove the president of office because of physical or mental incapacity. It's farcical, it's laughable, but it speaks to the desperation of these Looney Tune Democrats that are so desperate to get Trump out of office.
Their backup plan, but it's also right now plan A. Resistance has been plan A. Impeachment has been plan A. Discredit has been plan A. It is their policy agenda because Right now, they're looking at the other side of the aisle at Republicans, at President Trump, and they're seeing a year of accomplishments, signature of which was the passing of the tax bill. Now this president at Camp David over the weekend, meeting with his advisors, looking at the political agenda going forward. Democrats are clinging to DACA. They say we want the Dreamers legalized. That's what we need. And President Trump, sticking to his central campaign promise from the beginning, says, you want DACA? I'm going to get my wall. Take a listen.
We want the wall. The wall's going to happen or we're not going to have DACA. We want to get rid of chain migration. We need some additional border security. These are great people. We all want DACA to happen, but we also want great security for our country. We have to get rid of the visa lottery. They're not sending us their finest. I think, frankly, the Democrats feel strongly about it, too. I mean, Chuck Schumer, he saw somebody that came in through the lottery system. He saw this man kill 8 people on the West Side Highway. I really think we'll have a lot of Democrat support. I hope so. I believe that Mexico will pay for the wall. We're negotiating NAFTA, but Mexico will pay. In some form, Mexico will pay for the wall.
So we have a very interesting situation now Democrats finding themselves in because the president has put forth a serious proposal, $18 billion for 10 years to build the remaining second part of this wall. At the same time, this book getting all this attention. What do you say?
Well, I'd say, ironically, you have a lot of those on the left and critics of the wall and critics of increased border security, or at least they're critics now, but they weren't back in the day. I mean, you can go back to even 2006 with the Secure Fence Act, where you have Obama, Biden, Clinton, Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Schumer, who all voted to put up a physical barrier on the southern border. Dianne Feinstein said at the time that Democrats are solidly behind controlling the border. Well, where are they now? And how did they so drastically change their opinion over the years?
And they seem to forget that there's this pesky thing out there called videotape. And so previous Democratic leaders, from Bill Clinton in the State of the Union in 1996, and then Senator Obama during that passage of the Secure Fence Act, they both said things on tape that we're now going to play for you that are a little bit different than the tune they're singing now. Listen.
A little bit.
We are increasing border controls by 50%. We are increasing inspections to prevent the hiring of illegal immigrants. And tonight I announce I will sign an executive order to deny federal contracts to businesses that hire illegal immigrants. Let me be very clear about this. We are still a nation of immigrants. We should be proud of it. We should honor every legal immigrant here working hard to be a good citizen, working hard to become a new citizen. But we are also a nation of laws.
It will authorize some badly needed funding for better fences and better security along our borders. Yes, we need tougher border security and stronger enforcement measures. Yes, we need more resources for customs and border agents and more detention beds.
I thought we were supposed to build bridges, not walls.
Yeah, well, let me just say
these two. Hey, President Trump's doing the right thing.
The tape don't lie. And when you go back to those comments we played of President Trump yesterday, Camp David, saying, here's the serious deal, here's what I want. Shortly after that, Senator Sanders immediately said, I'm not sure why President Trump wants to shut the government down over a multi-billion-dollar wall that no one wants and is not needed. Well, we just played you for the last 2 decades. Both Democrats and Republicans have both wanted it. And not only have they wanted it and voted for it and supported it, they actually built it. That Fence Act you talk called for 700 miles along the southern border. And they have built 653 of them and added additional border security, which is...
So let's get this right. It was a Democratic president in 1996 who used the word illegal immigrants, which they won't use anymore. It's undocumented. Called for the wall. In 2006, it was George W. Bush who passed the Secure Fence Act. 350 miles of fence that Obama, Hillary, Biden, and Schumer all voted for, and it passed. And it has portions of it have been built. And then in 2013, during the Gang of Eight, during comprehensive immigration reform, they authorized another 350 miles of fence, which all 54 Senate Democrats voted for, many of which are still in the Senate, who say they will not work with Republicans on a DACA deal. That is as political and disingenuous as you can think of, because the president is coming in good faith, as you said, with a real proposal. I'll give you DACA if you support border security.
And just quickly for the viewers at home, a couple of things to keep in mind and to look towards. So you have January 19th, which Congress is going to have to address, keeping the government open. Again, immigration is going to come up. We'll see if Democrats try to use that to push the issue of DACA. President Trump is also giving Congress until March to deal with DACA. So we're gonna be hearing about this a lot in the next couple of months as this gets addressed.
If Congress can't do it, I bet Trump supporters would open their own GoFundMe page and build their own wall.
Well, and I'll tell you who I'll tell you who won't be thinking about this book, Fire and Fury, are the 800,000 illegal immigrants brought here as children who are looking to continue the American dream they found since they came here.
It's a serious thing. It's a great point. All right, well, we're moving on to a very serious Fox News alert. One man is dead and another injured after an explosion overnight in Sweden. Police there say a 60-year-old man died after an object he picked up outside a metro station in Stockholm, it exploded. There are reports it may have been a hand grenade. A 45-year-old woman also injured in the blast. Police say there's no evidence to suggest yet that this incident is terror-related. And we now know where in New Hampshire the winning Powerball ticket was sold. One lucky person is about $560 million richer after their purchase at Reed's Ferry Market in Merrimack. If you went there in the last couple of days, check your pockets. The winning numbers in Saturday's drawing are 12, 29, 30, 33, 61 in the Powerball was 26. No one has claimed the prize as of yet. Wow. And the NFL playoffs kicking off with the Atlanta Falcons shutting down the LA Rams 26-13 on LA's home field. And on another home field defeat, Kansas City, the Chiefs, and the Tennessee Titans, they erased an 18-point deficit thanks to their quarterback Marcus Mariota's touchdown pass to himself, sparking a second-half surge. The Titans stunning the Chiefs in front of their home crowd 22-21. Two more matchups today in the NFL. First, the Bills versus the Jaguars. Then the Panthers take on the New Orleans Saints. The winner of one of those two games will play my Minnesota Vikings next Sunday, which I'm really the only thing in the NFL I'm paying attention to.
All right, go Vikings. The Dow starting off strong this year, closing above 25,000. What can we expect this week? Maria Bartiromo here to discuss it next.
And his last-minute touchdown pass won the game for his team, but it also... Welcome back. After a record 2017, the Dow starting the new year off strong again, closing above 25,000 last week. So what can we expect when the markets open again tomorrow?
Here to break it all down is Sunday Morning Futures host Maria Bartiromo.
Hey,
Maria.
Good morning, guys. Great to see you.
So what can we expect tomorrow? And also, is this here to stay, this stock market boom?
Well, you know, there's no reason to believe that we're going to have any kind of sell-off anytime soon. There is a real bid under this market. Now, whether or not it opens up or down tomorrow really doesn't matter. I mean, really what's important is there is a firmness to this market, and it is based on fundamentals. This is not like 1999 where we were talking about how many hits went to the website. We're talking about solid earnings and solid revenue. And there are reasons to believe that this momentum continues into 2018. I would not be surprised to see many, many more records hit this upcoming year, because in the next couple of weeks, we're going to actually get real context from companies. Fourth quarter earnings begin next week. J.P. Morgan's going to kick everything off in the week ahead, and then we're going to see fourth quarter earnings come out and guidance from these CEOs to say, okay, this is how much the tax plan is helping our earnings. This is what my guidance looks like for the year.
We interviewed in a previous hour the Aflac CEO, Dan Amos, and he talked specifically about this, that these policies and these principles are literally guiding what ultimately translates to, in his case, the doubling of the 401k match and some of these other things that these Trump bonuses, as they're being called, are delivering. Is that something that those workers are going to be able to count on beyond today, next week, next month?
Absolutely. The earnings period is going to look much better than it has in a long time. Fourth quarter expected for the S&P 500 expected to be up about 10.5% on fourth quarter earnings. For the year 2018, it's expected to be 12%. But that's before we're actually hearing from CEOs say, okay, this is what the tax plan means to me. For example, the banks alone, the analysts right now are expecting additional earnings growth of 13% for the major banks because of this, because of the tax plan. So make no mistake, when an earnings period is better, companies use that money in different ways. They'll either pay dividends, buy back stock, which are also very positive, by the way, or they will invest it in their business and they will hire new workers. And that's the story of today.
Well, Maria, you're back and you've got a big show today. Who do you have in the program?
We do. We've got a big show, not just to get the economy. We're talking about the corruption at the top of the FBI and the Department of Justice during the election. I mean, it is mind-boggling the amount of bias that existed in the leadership of the FBI. We're going to talk with the chairman of the Oversight Committee, Trey Gowdy, my special guest this morning. Obviously, the Intel Committee is also a member of the Intel Committee, and they have asked the Department of Justice to put forth documents about this email scandal and about the election, Fusion GPS. Those those deadlines were last week and next week, so we're going to find out where that stands right now, because it's just extraordinary to see what took place during the election in terms of the FBI.
Kevin McCarthy was at Camp David with the president.
Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader, also my guest this morning. We're going to talk about the vision and the agenda for 2018. He's just back from Camp David with the president.
Big show.
Thanks, Maria. Welcome
Thank you
back.
so much.
See you soon. All right, still ahead. There's a big split between two old faces of the Democratic Party.
I think my generation's got to get the hell out of politics.
Tell Howard I can take him physically, okay?
Well, okay, that's a throwdown. So who's right? We'll ask former Democratic presidential candidate Martin O'Malley when he joins us next.
Plus, this professor wants to help put our veterans through college, and this morning she's getting some big-time help. You don't want to miss it.
You gotta do.
Welcome back and good morning. Some quick headlines for you. Japanese airbag maker Takata is recalling another 3.3 million airbags, further expanding the largest automotive recall in United States history. The latest recalls cover frontal airbags in certain 2009, 2010, and 2013 cars made by at least 15 automakers, including Toyota and Honda. The airbags can explode with too much force. The parts have been linked to the deaths of at least 20 people worldwide. And Dunkin' Donuts is scaling back its food and drink menu by 10%. The new simplified menu will debut tomorrow in New England locations before expanding nationwide by mid-March. The chain getting rid of items that are less popular and more time-consuming to make, things like smoothies and afternoon sandwiches. All right, Pete and Griff, I think you've got an interview for us.
They better not get rid of my wake-up rap. I like that. All right. Do Democrats need a new face for their party as they move forward? Well, Howard Dean seems to think so.
I think my generation's got to get the hell out of politics.
Howard Dean said this morning, former Democratic Party chair, he said the old people in the party need to, quote, get the hell out of the way. And
well, tell Howard I can take him physically, okay? It's probably the least consequential of any election because of who you'd be running against in all probability.
Biden disagreeing with Howard Dean's assertion as Biden appears to be gearing up for a 2020 run. So who is right?
Here to react is 2016 Democratic presidential candidate Martin O'Malley. Sir, thank you very much for joining this morning. We appreciate it. Before we get to the wall and the DACA deal, which is the front of mind for a lot of us, do have to get your take on the field of Democrats. Is Howard Dean right? Does the party need a new era of representatives if they're going to win nationwide?
Well, I certainly think there's a yearning out there all across the country for new leaders and new people in the Democratic Party to step up. So I think you're going to see a very robust and energetic field in 2020.
Should Joe Biden be one of them? Should Joe Biden be one of them?
I don't know. Hey, that's up to the Vice President Biden. He and his family will have to decide that. But what I've seen out there is that people are very interested in hearing from new voices in the Democratic Party. That was not necessarily the case in the last presidential race, and in fact, the party worked very hard to suppress new voices. But I think that's going to be different next time. Maybe Pete, you should referee a push-up contest and see which of.
Governor, I will accept that. You come on out and we'll do it anytime.
That's
Democratic
great.
field push-up contest.
How about I'll come, we'll get Vice President Biden and Bernie Sanders and any other comers. We'll have a push-up contest. But none of us can say that yesterday was push-up day for us.
Governor, that's a great idea.
I plead guilty. I'm sorry, Governor.
That's a great idea. You set me up, though, because we do have to talk about some business at hand, and you certainly one of the names that could be in that 2020 race as Democrats face what to do about DACA. The president has put a plan on the table. It involves a wall that he will not back away from. And Bernie Sanders, who you just mentioned, and certainly one of the names in the 2020 Democrat race, issued a statement saying that he's not sure why President Trump wants to shut down the government over a multi-billion-dollar wall that no one wants. It occurs to me Democrats are in a little bit of a situation here, Governor, where 800,000 illegal immigrants brought here as children are counting on both parties to deliver on a way they will have legal status to stay in this country. And with Sanders saying, no way, we're going to resist, that doesn't seem like something that's going to work.
Yeah, I think what we have to stay focused on is the best interests of our nation and people who know no other country but our country. And that's the 800,000 dreamers that you mentioned. Look, there's going to be a lot of Democratic legislators who perhaps will have to face a trade-off. Or are they willing to accept this wall, which frankly I think is not needed? And I don't think the people of the country believe it's needed. Net immigration from Mexico last year was less than zero. But having said that, if the trade-off for some legislators is you have to accept Donald Trump's obsession with his big wall, given the stable genius that he is, in order to make 800,000 people secure in their citizenship in the United States, I think that's a morally defensible trade-off. I don't think it's a wise use of public dollars, and the people of Texas certainly don't want a wall, and I think we should listen to them more than we have. But look, I think we have to stay focused on people and not get too wrapped around our axle about Donald Trump's latest.
I think that's a fair point. I think that's a very fair point. It shouldn't be about President Trump and whether he wants the wall. It should be about the policy. But Democrats, going back to Bill Clinton in the State of the Union in 1996, going back to Democrats who voted for a secure fence 350 miles in 2006, Hillary, Obama, Biden, Schumer, even the Gang of Eight deal that failed in 2013 included an additional 350 miles. So Democrats have voted consistently for a wall. Are they being hypocritical now in saying we don't want any part of a wall in exchange for DACA?
Well, look, I think this is, and I saw some of those clips, including President Obama with much blacker hair. I think what's made it different, gentlemen, is this. Look, this obsession with the wall, wanting to build a wall, and all of this is, I think there are a lot of Democrats that just don't want to be part of the thinly veiled racism that goes along with that.
Wait, so a wall is racist?
Well, look, we're not building one along the Canadian border, are we? And net immigration from Mexico is actually less than zero last year.
Governor, they've built 653 miles of the fence already. And that certainly wasn't racist when Democrats were leading the call for that.
No, I'm not. Gentlemen, look, I'm not saying border security is racist. I'm not saying a wall's racist. What I am saying is this, that the scapegoating of other people, saying that all Mexicans are rapists, that they are all armed robbers and bandits, as Donald Trump did, playing to great throngs of people, all applauding, especially in parts of our country where they've never met a Mexican
immigrant. You said he assumed some are good people as well.
I'm saying that Democrats don't want to be complicit in that, and that's why it makes it more difficult.
Well, I think you drilled down to the true point. Yeah. Ultimately, it's the fear of being complicit and a left-wing base that would call them out as such as they resist. It's a very fair point.
That's not what I was drilling. I was drilling that they didn't want to be complicit in racism.
Well, we got it. Governor, thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to having you back on soon.
For the push-up contest.
That's right.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
His last-minute touchdown pass won the game for his team, and it also sent another team to the playoffs. Sent the Bills to the playoffs.
But the story did not end there. Bills fans from around the globe showed their appreciation and donated to Dalton's charity, the Andy and Jordan Dalton Foundation, which helps families of seriously ill or injured kids. And they raised to the tune of just under $350,000. Here to discuss is Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton. Andy, thanks for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Before we talk all the good work that you're doing with your charity, talk to me here. So it's fourth down. You got 50 yards to go. You're playing a team in your division. Did you just want to put a dagger into the Ravens and say you ain't going to the playoffs?
Well, it's one of those things. We wanted to win the game. We didn't know what was going to happen if we won. Obviously, there's a chance that they could not make the playoffs if they lost. And so, after the touchdown, after getting to the sideline and stuff, we realized that the Bills and the Titans had won and that the Ravens weren't going to be going to the playoffs. So, but for us, we were just trying to win the game.
Sure.
And Andy, I really want to get into your foundation. I was reading a story about William, whose parents, Christina and Andrew, were struggling to pay the $20,000 per year treatment for autism. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. I have a family member in the autism spectrum. Tell us about William and some of these other families that your foundation has helped.
Yeah, William's one of our favorite stories to tell. So William needed a treatment that they weren't able to get, and so we were able to provide the money for him to be able to go to this treatment. and this therapy. And after going through the therapy, his mom heard him say, "I love you" for the first time. And so it's just little impacts like that, little things that we can do that really shows just how big of an impact we can make with our foundation is huge. And so that's one of our favorite stories to tell of, okay, what we're doing is working.
So, Andy, were you surprised at the outpouring of support from Bills fans?
Absolutely. Just kind of how the whole thing happened. I was just looking on Twitter after the game, and a couple people said that they were going to donate to our foundation for winning the game, and I didn't think much of it. And then Prolanthropy, the company that helps us run our foundation, they said, "You have no idea how many donations we're getting." It just kept going and going and going. And to be almost at $350,000 now is absolutely amazing. Something that we never expected. And people in Buffalo are being very generous, but it's not just them. Other people have given too once everybody's kind of caught on to the story.
Sure. It's pretty remarkable, Andy. The stats we got was it was just over 14,500 fans from Buffalo reaching out there. I'm assuming you're rooting for the Bills today?
Absolutely. I'll be rooting for them this playoffs. I think everything that they've done for our foundation for us has been amazing.
And Andy, where can viewers learn more about your foundation and donate?
Yeah, all the information, if you want to know more, or there's a donate tab. It's on our website. It's andydalton.org.
And on behalf of a lot of Americans, thanks for taking the Ravens out of the playoff.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for the work that you do with the foundation as well.
Yes, very cool. I'm sorry, and that. Andy, no, it's a pleasure. Appreciate what you do off the field. Very, very cool. And obviously the Bills fans and Americans see it and value it. We appreciate it.
And an amazing throw, that's for sure.
Yep.
Thanks,
well done, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You got it.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, well, now turning to some additional headlines. The U.S. military enhancing its stealth in the Pacific Ocean by adding a new warship. The USS Wasp is an assault ship recently upgraded to deploy